Holy high school mall brawl, Batman! Tiki here, and after watching through Batman the Animated Series for the first time, I think it's time that we go ahead and take a step beyond Dragon. Tell him why we're here.
Well, you see, folks, long ago I made a vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham in a way. But that was the past, and we must now enter the Batman's future.
So tonight we are talking Golem, not Gollum, Golem. Dragon, I'm not even gonna beat around the bush here. I'm not gonna call this masterpiece or I'm sorry, this masterpiece. I'm not gonna call this episode a masterpiece or anything, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I actually really appreciate the more kind of like slice of life nature that this has. I kind of dig the standalone quality to it. I'm not saying it's nearly as good as this, but I'm saying it kind of has the same sort of vibe as like the villain family from the Powerpuff Girls or something like that. You know, it's like I don't know. It's just interesting to see kind of like this standalone almost morality play. So you know, it didn't advance the actual. I'll put it this way. I don't really necessarily think there's going to be a great Conroy moment this episode. I don't think that's in contention. But I thought there was at least, you know, we have two scenes with Batman. That's more than I was expecting. And we get to see the cloaking device, the camouflage, which is very cool indeed.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Dragon. I like this quite a bit.
Hmm. Yeah, I was worried how you're going to respond to this one.
Yeah.
Hmm. Right. So yeah, let's see. So Golem here. So there's a little context for you. There's not a whole
Really
lot.
quick before you get into that, let's Atomic Beast is in the comments. He says, first off, the way Willie and Gollum is Batman Beyond's version of the ventriloquist and Scarface. At least his Scarface has firepower. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I I don't know if I'd go that far because it's a one-off and it's like
It's a
I'm just
one-off, but I don't know. I kind of like the comparison.
I mean it's a nice comparison. I just don't really think there's a lot of interplay between. It's more like kind of like a school shooter Iron Giant.
Oh, jeez, that's dark. Okay.
Well, I know it's dark, but I'm saying that's kind of the vibe you have. It's like it's kind of like you know,
Right, right.
it's a boy and his robot, and there's debatably a friendship there. It's kind of mental link versus friendship, but there's still. But again, the kids obviously has basically a constructionized version of a loaded gun.
Uh-huh.
All right, so yeah, so the director on this was the great Butch Lukic, who had done, to give you a few New Adventure credits to his name. Basically, Butch Lukic's like kind of a storyboard artist extraordinaire who eventually went on to direct, and the other episodes he directed were things like Love is a Crock and You Scratch My Back. Oddly, the theme of this episode is our writer and directors from New Batman Adventures. Like the episodes that are, well, they're kind of dicey and not bad, but definitely not the high of highs. Writer on this was Hilary J. Bader, who has sadly has departed, but way before her time. Like she passed in I think '03 or something. But she did You Scratch My Back as well, stuff like Animal Act and Mean Seasons. Again, kind of the lower tier new adventure stuff. But again, there were some high points that we'll kind of see kind of homage. There's kind of a big runner she had in her stuff that definitely pays off and beyond very soon. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I double checked this, so we don't have to necessarily make a big production out of this one. Just to note, yeah, I was correct in my assumption. Coco and Don Yang did all the Batman Beyond episodes except the movie. Except the movie was TMS. Everything else, it's Coco and Don Yang, predominantly Coco.
Got it.
So there we go. The studio did Sub-Zero, did this show. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, this was a learning curve episode early on in season 1 of Batman Beyond for a couple reasons. For starters, again, as you kind of mentioned, Tiggy, season 1 got really ambitious with like kind of having a running through line, which which again, basically with a few exceptions, like kind of the one-offs here. So where we have like a running through line, and we kind of took a break from that here. So we've kind of
Mhm.
introduced that, and it's like, hey, let's do a run through, and we're just going to take a break from that here. And the other thing is, because the show had no Bible, they're pretty much improvising as they want on it. It's pretty much up by the seat of their pants in terms like, okay, let's do this. They're pretty much working like week to week, or I guess more so like kind of 9 months to 9 months in the planning sessions. Like, okay, we're going to do these episodes for the first season, and we don't really have time to kind of ahead of time cultivate the entire universe and how it's going to go. We're just going to kind of fly by the seat of our pants. And in doing so, in the early episodes, you'll notice season one there is a learning curve of, hey, let's try using the classic Batman structure we're all used to in the writing, in which, okay, we're going to follow a villain for an episode, but there were two issues there. One, this Batman not quite as established as the Bruce Wayne Batman. We're still learning more about this kid, so we can't really rest on the laurels of almost got him. Like, oh, it's Batman. He's always around. That guy.
Sure.
And the other thing, this is a very important thing to note, though. This is going to be important for the duration of the series and everything we do with Batman Beyond going forward. So, the big revelation they had on this is the mission statement that would have been in a Bible had they crafted ahead of time. Is that this episode was very much at risk, and it ultimately is. It does kind of flounder in this of not being Terry's episode. The show is always at risk of not being Terry McGinnis' show because usually it'd be Bruce Wayne's show. It'd be you're there for old Bruce when you should be there for Terry McGinnis. So that's one of the mantra really came into play here with this episode. Is kind of the gut check of like is kind of the engine gut check of like we can't lose sight of Terry McGinnis because he's barely in this episode, and even Bruce Wayne's not is even less in this episode. So we got to make sure kids know that Terry McGinnis isn't Bruce Wayne. This isn't the Bruce Wayne show. This is about Batman Beyond, as in the Batman of tomorrow, as in the new kid. So this is why we kind of made corrections after this point of like we're gonna make sure that Terry is indeed the focus, and we're not drifting too far in any other direction. So yeah,
Got it.
and one last thing, the Golem, as you I don't know how much the kids know about this sort of thing, but the Golem.
Literally everything I know about Golem, it's just like I assume it's some sort of play on Gollum or I assume Gollum
No,
from Lord of the Rings is some sort of play on that.
well, I misspoke. I said Golem. I meant Golem. The Golem is a nod to Jewish mythology. Is the old you've heard the legend of the Golem, right?
Dragon, like I said, not really. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So, folks,
Sorry.
just long story short, the Golem essentially there was this. I believe there's like kind of a Jewish myth that was kind of passed down for many years that essentially they built a protector that was it basically kind of this Hulk-like protector that was made of clay and brought to life to protect the Jewish people. So, and they called it a golem. So essentially, a clay monster, or just kind of a monster that has a good heart that is protecting people. Essentially, is called the golem. And that's where that legend comes from.
Okay, got it.
And this essentially is a nod to that. Which again, throughout comics and other stories and everything, like it's like for instance, Superboy had an episode called the Golem, I think. And the golem is kind of a thing that comes back in kind of pop culture from time to time as a nod to that ancient myth. All right, you're up to speed. Let's go.
Whew. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, so we have Willie Watts, who is striking up some conversation with the popular girl. Tiki, it's the popular girl. It's Blade from Batman Beyond. So again, just very much the most
Is this
shallow
going to
of the.
be a reoccurring character?
I mean, she'll be around. She won't really get a lot of focus. She's just kind
All
of
right,
there.
that's fair.
I mean,
to be fair, she didn't really have a ton of personality in this episode.
All you need to know is that there's like three girl characters who essentially are all popular girl characters. They're all attractive. Like the three attractive popular girl characters. You got Dana, you got Chelsea, and you've met her when Dana was introduced. And then there's Blade, who is the most shallow of the bunch. And you know how you know she's shallow and popular? She's got white hair. She's stylish.
Oh my god. So Willie is like literally chasing after her dragon, like very, very predatory like.
Yeah, it was a different time. Forward in time, but it was a different time.
Uh-huh.
So, fun fact: Scott I think it's McAfee, even though the A's comes after the C. McAfee or McAfee. This kid was child actor, not just child. He's pretty much like the child. He's like the Walla child actor. He's like the child actor who's not the main kid, but he's kind of there. You know, he's like one of the kind of the I guess the character actor of kid actors.
Uh-huh.
He he was one of Poison Ivy's plant children in House and Garden. That's why he came back for this. He's been in Freakazoid. He's been in Toy Story. He's been in Land Before Time. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff.
Really?
That's what I'm saying. So this is kind of a first like kind of starring role for him, as far as I'm aware. So this is pretty big for him. Anyway, so Willie Watts,
like one of the Littlefoots in Land Before Time or anything like that.
I tried looking up. It didn't say little. I couldn't find it saying Littlefoot. I think he was just like one of like the other kids. I'd have to check it. Let me this way. He wasn't. There's no way he was the original Littlefoot. I'll say that.
Oh no, I know he wasn't the original Littlefoot, but there's been like 6 Littlefoots.
There's a chance he could have been one of the many Littlefoots, but I don't know. But again, that I'd have to double check. Regardless,
Dragon, we should do a Land Before Time retrospective.
No, we're not masochists.
All 14 movies.
No.
No.
Not even,
You said that almost like Matt Damon, or not Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg asked. What? No.
Not even if Don Bluth catches on fire.
God.
Anyway, so Willie here he's a whiz at biogenic engineering, essentially next gen kind of. It's like basically kind of engineering class, but kind of like the application being it's kind of like the human mind linked to technology. So that's which is why the whole Golem technology works at the Halo. So it's essentially the setup there. Anyway, his point he's a whiz at essentially a whiz at science class, and he offers to tutor the girl, which basically is their way of expositing this kid's smart and he knows technology, which is going to be handy later.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, it's speaking of Batman villains that he is reminiscent of. Design-wise, he looks so much like Dr. Milo from Batman the Animated Series. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yes. All right, so the real hero of the Gaston of our story arrives.
This guy is an entertaining jerk. I will give him that.
You remember who voices this entertaining jerk, don't you?
No, who?
Seth Green.
Oh, this is the Seth Green character.
This is him. It's Nelson. Remember, Nelson's going to come back. Nelson is the lamer Flash Thompson. That's the idea. He's the
okay. This is great. This is like I think he's by far the highlight of the episode.
If you like Nelson, you're in for a treat, my friend.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I do like Nelson.
That's the thing. Whenever we check with the high school stuff, he's like he's an ancillary high school character. He has to come back, so he'll be back. So Nelson arrives, and Nelson, as we established, Nelson drives a nice car, and he's the lunkhead bully obsessed with that nice car.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I don't know. He seems to have just a tiny bit of dimension to him.
You're right. There is a tiny bit of. It's still not. That doesn't make him a great person. But you're right. There is dimension there.
Sure.
That's the thing, because you see that he does like there is. Here's the thing. Later on, but especially, there is an appeal to Nelson that you kind of get. Where do you get why the chicks are going towards him, but it's not right why they are.
Right. I hear that.
But you get it, though. And again, I think it does come from, hey, we got Seth Green. Seth Green does the fuse kind of a charm about him.
Mm-hmm.
But never would you imagine the 3 foot something tall Seth Green to be the 6 foot jock.
No.
And how ironic that he's bullying this kid. Anyway, so Nelson arrives, and he's got the car and everything that he loves.
Shui outfit.
Oh, so yeah, you're getting this episode. We do introduce more of the future lingo. So you have shui, which is basically their word for cool, and then you have twip, which is kind of their twit essentially. So you see, there's kind of a Victorian influence. Not Victorian. There's kind of like an English influence, well, here and there. Anyway. So, he's starting to look down on her for seeking tutoring. What are you going to do next? Homework?
No, not just, yeah, he's literally looking down on her for doing homework. God, Dragon.
Yeah, how this guy
I mean, what kind of lame head does homework?
Yeah. It's a question. If he has to be copying off of somebody to pass his classes, he's got to be.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
All right, suppose he wants to go on a spur of the moment. Like, hey, Blade, you want to go for a drive?
Okay, you know what's interesting about this is that I almost feel like this whole want to go for a drive thing is like a way to get around censorship as far as like having a discussion about consent.
Well, it's funny. Later on, we do. Well, you probably
Yeah,
figured out
no,
that
you're
later
right.
on.
Because later on, we make an innuendo out of it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very
But I'm
surprisingly
saying in
so.
this moment in particular, it seems like almost like a kind of like we're talking about consent just a little bit.
This episode, in other aspects as well, in terms of like human interaction, does have a large degree of kind of symbolism there. Like we're saying, we're talking about other things, like like for Willie's father's not abusive, but there's definitely something going on there.
Sure, sure.
So, anyways, point being, officer arrived. Basically, she says, "I want a little bit of warning first." So then he says, "Okay, how's this set? I'm trying to play it smooth. Saturday, the dance at the pier.
Dragon, did you say dance?
Indeed, I did."
All right, it's not a rave, but we're getting there. And Dragon is a new feature of this podcast. We're going to be tracking how Tiki feels about the dances / raves.
Well, I have stuff to say about that you're gonna like.
Maybe possibly ranking all of them along the way.
Yeah, well, maybe let's not get crazy about that. But yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like, we won't get crazy with it, but every episode I might be like, okay, I liked, this is the best rave yet. Yeah, this rave didn't really do it for me.
Right. So, okay, let's see. So she says, "I'll think about it. Can I give you a ride home?" And then just Willie Watts here, just pointing out. She said she didn't want to ride. Just point out the logic, honestly, not really aggressively or anything. Not saying, "Hey, she said she didn't want to ride."
Right.
She didn't want to ride. And then he shoves him. You got to question the bullies a little bit. He shoves him, and Willie
shoves him into the car and then gets mad at him for scratching said car.
But he almost scratched. And if you notice, no damage at all was done to the car.
Right.
Willie just ripped his shirt.
It's like, you almost. But to be fair, that does seem like a Gaston move if Gaston had a car.
Yeah, but didn't he? I wish he actually.
You rapscallion! You almost scratched my car. I'm going to beat you up for almost doing it.
Yep. Anyway, so he almost scratched it. So he's about to hit him, and then this moment's really cool. We have this. Oh boy, here's a great Will Friedle. I love the way Will Friedle played this, and how we're really illustrating.
Okay, no, that's the thing, Dragon. I want to just get this out here, where you said like, oh, we need to make sure that Terry's the main character. It's like, yeah, I can see I can totally see the logic behind that for sure. But by the same token, I almost feel like we get more of a sense of who Terry is in this episode because we're seeing him from the perspective of another person, and we're seeing kind of, how like obviously we didn't, he wasn't a bad kid or a mean kid by any means, but I really like how this episode highlights that he goes out of his way to stand up for the little guy. It's certainly a nice little piece of character. I
don't want to give too much away, but let's just say there is somewhat of a telltale quality to this in the long game. All right.
Okay.
Because we have a little bit of this here too. So anyway, so Terry, in essence, Batman saves him, and he says, "Get off him, Nash. Don't you have something better to do?" And of course, this delivery is what kills me here. It's just like, "You think I'm afraid of you, McGinnis?" And then we have this awesome moment. I don't know. Are you? It's like giving Terry these little dirty, hairy moments. I love it. You're not worth it. You are, McGinnis. Someday.
Ooh.
So he drives off, very recklessly, I might add. And Terry's asking if Willie's okay. And there's a nice moment of him checking in on the kid. And that's what I'm saying.
Totally.
To me, when I look back on this episode, Tiki, I do see something I don't think I quite picked up on initially, where there is kind of a degree of kind of cautionary tale for it's this episode very much seems to be about, the bullied kid who feels powerless, and of course how a victim can turn very much into a predator by the end of things.
Kind of gave me some Chronicle vibes a little bit.
Sure, Chronicle is probably the better exception.
Chronicle is definitely the better told of the two for sure. But
again, I was going for more like a school shooter sort of thing, because in terms of the bullied kid, he can't physically make up for it, so he overcompensates.
Chronicle wasn't going for the school shooter.
That's why I said yours was better.
Okay. Sorry.
That's what I'm saying. So Chronicle is the far better example, especially given these psychokinetic sort of Anyway. But getting there, let's talk about Frank. Let's talk about Frank Watts.
Let's be Frank.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Frank. How are you?
Oh, God. Yeah, so Frank Watts, he's basically a manly man dragon. Oh, God.
He's
Dragon,
basically John.
this is the type of guy who would just absolutely like be down the right wing rabbit hole these days. You know what I mean?
I was going to go simpler. I was going to say this is like Anthony's father from Ren and Stimpy. This is like the John K. father kind of
Oh God!
influence. Like, says we're going to have some meat. Yeah, kind of guy. So yeah, so we have Frank Watts who basically works in the construction site, which kind of in the future we've revolutionized construction. This is kind of a cool idea. We've
revolutionized construction to make it look exactly like James Cameron mechs.
Sure.
I say James Cameron mechs because the mechs he has in the Alien franchise and the Avatar franchise are practically the same mechs.
Okay.
All right, I'm done. I'm sorry.
Okay, point being, we basically melded all the construction equipment into one thing, which does make sense in terms of if we're going to modernize things in the future, we're going to try and do a Swiss Army knife sort of thing. So we have a Golem, which essentially does this. And also we have this is kind of like a fun catch. It's like what the Jetsons did all the time. I wish we kind of model what we do now off of the Jetsons. In the grand scheme of things, where here we have a prototype VR headset of sorts that kind of control, the Halo that controls the construction equipment in the future.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So let's see. So anyway, so here's the thing. Here's what's interesting about this dynamic. So Willie's father here, he is in quotes supportive. Because he is encouraging his son.
I don't call this supportive.
Well, I said in quotes. I said in quotes, and that he thinks he's being. I like the idea the father thinks he's being supportive here. He thinks he is not doing a good job of it at all.
No, absolutely not.
But I think it's interesting. This guy thinks like he's telling his son to stand up for himself. And he's encouraging him to fight. Not like here's the big missed up. Let me hint at this here. I think the biggest missed opportunity of this episode for me is that at the end of the episode, we have like a little exchange between Batman and Willie Watts. And it does draw a parable to what happened with Terry McGinnis and his father, in the sense of that was a healthy relationship.
Definitely. I for sure picked up on that, yeah.
And I thought that was great. It was a little too last minute in the episode for me. I just wish we kind of, I see what we're going for, but I wish we kind of just given that Terry did stick up for Willie.
Could have maybe been underlined just a little bit more.
Just a little bit more. I mean, the fact that Terry and Batman shared a scene with this kid, I think maybe it's a little bit more on either with Terry would have really maybe helped draw that parable or something. I don't know.
No, I definitely hear you on that for sure.
Regardless, so the idea here that we're seeing kind of like a father-son dynamic that is far more damaged than it was with the divorced parent dynamic with Terry and Warren, where this one's very much, again, this is a very relevant idea with the whole that we're dealing with now in the culture with the old school masculinity issues here. Like you got to be a man, you got to push back.
No, I mean for real, this dude is like almost like a cartoon caricature of like the toxic masculinity stereotype.
So that's the thing. So again, it was the old school way of thinking and kind of seeing that, especially now, what we do when we reanalyze this sort of thing, we kind of look back on this sort of thing now. It kind of adds some extra layers to, this is like even going into the future, it's sort of like a relevant issue retroactively,
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, we're pushing like the string bean kid to fight in which he's going to get pulverized, and no, he shouldn't. He shouldn't do that if that's not his thing.
Hit him where it hurts.
I do question that he was able to deduce that he was bullied just by like a ripped sleeve.
I hear you. Yeah. No, I kind of noticed that too.
Yeah, it feels like we should have actually beat Willie up a little bit earlier, but then again, we wouldn't have had Terry save him, so it was kind of a bind there. Anyway, so say of course someone pushes you, you push back. And then we have I'm not raising no wuss. Line of the episode right there. I'm not raising no wuss.
Okay, on the basis of line of the episode, Dragon, Tom Beast says, let's be honest, if Terry's father or Bruce sees this guy, they'll send him to the hospital. Dragon, I'm just going to imagine a deleted scene where Bruce Wayne runs into this guy and there's like a heated exchange, and that's our great Conroy moment of the episode.
I mean, I have like a fill-in great Conroy moment in this episode. It was just kind of like it's not like a Hall of Famer, but it's like it's cool.
Dragon, I feel for these situations in particular, we should probably just call him the good Conroy. Because, okay. I mean, you know how much weight the Great Conroy title has.
Oh, I'm aware.
All right.
Yeah. But Bruce Wayne would I'd like to think Bruce Wayne would intimidate this guy without having to lift.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Just saying, you got something to say?
Just imagine Bruce Wayne and Bandit on a walk, and just Bandit really getting in this guy's face.
Bandit.
Fuck! What's the name of the dog? I'm sorry.
Ace.
Ace. I don't know where I'm getting Bandit. I'm
What the heck?
sorry.
Yeah, I
Dumb. I'm dumb.
Okay. Anyway,
You know my fucking memory's crap.
so I'm thinking like The Office, like Bandit the cat or something. Like, say
I don't
Bandit.
even know where I'm getting Bandit. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, point being, I ain't raising no wuss, and again, we're like basically he's he's basically he's basically raising all this. I think you get this the kind of a portrait of what Willie's home life is like, in which the father, in trying to raise a tough kid, he's actually raised the victim. So he's very much basically he is indeed raising a wuss, but by his own hand, because he basically demoralized the kid and how he raised him. Okay, let's see. So he sees the golem. He gets an idea. Light bulb.
All right, so we get to Terry's kind of staking out a basketball game in freaking camo gear, and oh my god, I love this tech, Dragon.
Okay, so a couple things to break down here. One, you're right. Let's talk about the awesome, the awesome tech and the gadgetry here.
It's honestly some of the best animated like camouflage I've ever seen. Like, it's really cool looking.
Something really cool about this. So, one, I love the logic here of when you look at the progression of Terry McGinnis's Batman, how he gets better as the show goes on. He learns more. Again, he's not years and years of training like Batman's going to have, as we've kind of gone over. But Batman, Bruce Wayne, has realized, hey, this kid's not really good at stealth, so I'm going to give him the cloaking feature to the suit, the camouflage feature, so it would help compensate for him keep getting spotted, especially with the long pointy bat ears, which are going to give him away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really good idea, and also it's a deep cut callback to Batman the Animated Series. I wonder if it has occurred to you. It's it's See No Evil. Remember the guy in the invisible suit, right?
Yeah, vaguely. I don't think that was one of my more memorable episodes on my end, but
so essentially, Batman over the years, Bruce Wayne, he probably pocketed the invisible material and he worked out the bug, which basically, if you wear that suit for too long, it's going to become toxic and it's going to mess with you. So he found a way to kind of. So the point is, he found a way to get around that design defect and put it into the suit. So that's really cool. Yeah. So, also fun detail here. Not yet another sport of the future. We still have basketball, but we have cool hoops now.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Seriously, we kind of. I think the design principle of a lot of the sports is let's tron it up. They troned it up, Tiki.
Let's tron it up.
Let's tron it up because they have like lights on the markers.
I can see that just being a mantra in the writers' room. Let's tron it up, boys.
It just feels like okay. So I'm pretty sure, and we'll see if I'm.
Oh, Bandit is what I'm. Yes, thank you, Atomic Beast. Thank you. Yes, oh my god. I don't know why I was pulling from Johnny Quest, but yes, I'm thinking Bandit. Exactly. Okay, my bad.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the thing. It seems like with the sports design of the future, it seems like I want to say they ousted football completely. Like there is no football in the future, I think. And in retaliation, this what we've done is we've they've streamlined things. Like there's no net on the basketball hoop and stuff like that. We kind of make things light up. So again, we troned it up. Okay. So he's testing out the camouflage feature, which he has been noticed for a long time, just to give a little safe test run. And of course, oh man, just when the game was getting good, sirens and he's following the cops. Speaking of which, Tika, this is your first look. I think the first proper look. You might have seen him a little bit in the background at the very end of last episode, but we see what the officers of the GCPD look like. What do you think of the new uniforms?
Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. Again, a little Tron-esque.
Yeah, they're wearing like the black and white sort of, yeah.
The shoulder pads I like.
Mm-hmm. All right, so basically we learn, long story short here, Frank's upset as he enters the construction site. We learn that his crew lost the golem, and he's very ticked off about this. And yeah, it's 2 stories tall, 13
his days
tons.
about to go from bad to worse.
Oh, yeah. Of course, the Batman listens in thanks to his camouflage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then,
seriously, I get the feeling that every time we see this camo, it's just going to be a really cool looking shot.
Yeah, it is. All right, so then we go to the mall. So talking to the design work of the future here, the mall, essentially, it's kind of like an outdoor Vegas Strip sort of look.
Well, I mean, that's another reason why I really think this episode landed with me quite well because, once again, we're building out the world. this might be a filler episode as far as the actual Batman of it all, but I certainly don't think this is a filler episode as far as the world building goes.
Okay. So let's see. So anyway, Nelson's like he's invited Blade to like go to the mall like a date or so. And he says, I'm tired of the mall. Want to go for a ride?
How about a ride?
you like that car more than me. Who's talking about
Again?
cars?
This totally just like Gaston would just be totally this guy if he existed in the modern day.
But seriously, just the whole like who's talking about
Belle, let's go on a Sunday drive. Just you, me, and the French countryside.
But seriously, the whole like who's talking about cars? Just, that's a racy line. I'm surprised they put on Kiss WB.
It is, yeah.
But then again, we've done a
Well,
lot.
I mean, to be fair, it's basically the same connotation as the whole "want to ride your Harley" thing.
Yeah, well, I forget if they ultimately changed that to rev up your Harley because it originally was like something more directly ride.
No, I think you're right. It is rev up your Harley, but still, that's still pretty direct.
Like in the comic, it was ride, and then they had to, yeah. So it shows you like then and now, man. It's crazy. All right, so this is like the second time they pulled this joke with Nelson. The whole you haven't wrestled with him.
Oh God.
All right, so okay, let's see. So Willie here, he sicks the golem on Nelson's car, specifically his car, and you'll notice the cowards on Nelson here leaves the girl behind, trying to flee to the car.
Yep. So basically, he pulls a Will Ferrell in Downhill.
Yep. No, 100%. I actually watched that.
Oh no! Today. Stressful situation. Run away.
Did you happen to watch that clip today after watching this episode?
The what now?
From Downhill. Did you have to watch that clip?
No, I didn't.
Because I did. I did.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. Because I was thinking, it's a lot like that scene from Downhill. Let me see.
A little bit. Except there's no children involved.
Nope. So he crushes the car, crumples it up, kind of like the Thing in the Fantastic Four. He's kind of crumples it up and he tosses it. Then we have a little Batman versus the Golem here, and we see he tosses some exploding batarangs at it. No real effect at this point. Admittedly, I think we might be a little inconsistent with how destructible this construction, this construction bot is. Because we destroy it rather easily next time.
Do we? Okay, that's fine.
I mean, we'll see. I'm just saying he threw exploding batarangs at it, and it seemed to be fine. Yet again, like I don't know. You make the call later on if you think it was too easy or not. So this thing grabs a pillar, it's essentially like a hammer, and that looks really cool. And he's like trying to the impact. This is a really cool animation detail. The impact hits, and it doesn't like hit Batman, but it hits right behind him, and the impact propels him into a car. Ouch.
Ooh, yeah, for sure.
Then we have like Willie going, "Leave us alone." And Willie, buddy, you're picking the wrong fights here. Batman's just you crushed your car. You got your revenge. You get out of there.
Right, for sure.
So then we have the shot of a nice shot here of Willie overlooking the battle as he sees Batman and the Golem duking it out, and then basically this you have the pillar and the hammer thing. Anyway, so Batman here, he runs up the pillar, he grabs onto the elevator, and right before the Golem is about to get him, he drops at the last second, so the Golem will electrocute itself, which it does, but unbeknownst to him, the Golem is linked because of that halo to Willie Watts. So Willie Watts gets the shock of a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, in the crime scene afterwards, futurized blimps. We have the blimps of the GCPD in the future, the police blimps. They're not blimps.
Yeah, that's very cool for sure.
Okay, so then we have the little bat, not a bat exit per se, but we have kind of a camouflage exit.
Yeah, still cool.
Okay, so in the Batcave, we actually go there this episode at least once. We go to the Batcave. Old Bruce basically exposits what happened here. Like
is this your good Conroy moment?
No, the good Conroy moments. He's not even in the scene later on that happens.
Oh God. Okay.
We're a little on our heels with the Conroy. I won't lie. But yeah. So old Bruce basically exposits how the halo works. That it was fused. It was all fried and everything when they found it at the crime scene. And he looks at the footage. Doing some good detective work though. He went straight for the car. Basically asks, does Nelson have any enemies? And says,
I want a car. Chicks dig the car.
I already gave you a car. I told you not to scratch it. Remember? All right. So Basically, does he have any enemies, or like anyone have a grudge against Nelson, this Nelson Nash kid? And Terry says the line starts after me and goes around the block twice.
That's a really good line.
It is. Gotta love Friedel's delivery. Okay,
No,
so
I really love how, Friedel, I'm sure we've talked about this before, but it's just such an interesting contrast how we can play kind of like, I mean, like Terry McGinnis is very much like the cool kid, and Ron Stoppable is very much not. You know what I mean?
it still amuses me to no end, Tiki. To no end. There's an episode of Kim Possible that splices together Batman Beyond and '60s Batman with Will Friedle in the Terry McGinnis role as Ron Stoppable, and Adam West as old Bruce Wayne.
Oh my god,
which is amazing. Anyway, so so we're at breakfast time at the Watts' house.
Mm-hmm.
So Dad's ticked off that the GLM. By the way, the official name of the Golem. The reason it's called Golem we know the reason why it's called Golem for the episode title, but the machine is called Golem because it's like short for GLM, which drives me crazy because it makes me think of LGMs, but it's like rearranged.
God,
it's like it feels like
you're right.
It feels like the dyslexic version of LGM.
Oh my god!
Let's be honest. But
Dragon, that's such a weirdly specific nitpick, but I do get it.
It's not a problem. It's something kind of occurs to me with like the 3 letters of choice here, but no, it stands for galvanized lifting machine, I think. Yeah, galvanized lifter machine specifically. So, point being, he's ticked off that this thing is in police impound right now since the fight, and that means it's going to delay things. And you'll notice the TV starts to flicker when Willie here is getting ticked off.
Mm-hmm.
Foreshadow. And I'm gonna make the jerk who stole that thing sorry they were ever born. Maybe they already are. Yeah, of course, father being dense as he is, he's not really doing much of a follow through on that. Okay, so then we go to school. We go to Hamilton High.
All right.
So Nelson, he's not living this cowardice down easy. Blade is understandably ticked off that they left her there, left her in Dodge.
But he is just making excuses. He's like, "Come on, babe, I thought you were right behind me."
You're like a mile behind you. He's wondering. I wonder if Will Ferrell has these problems.
Oh my god.
No. Anyway, so then basically Blade's like saying almost as a joke, ill-timed as she walks right into the guy. At this point, I might as well go with that twip like Willie Watts, and of course she bumps into him. Willie's, and then basically she asks Willie out to the dance, and he says, "Oh yeah, sure." And Nelson ain't happy about that. He starts to manhandle Willie.
Oh god.
Which out of context sounds very bad. I now realize, but still.
No, but I mean, I gotta tell you, man, Nelson is just so fucking territorial in this episode.
Yeah. So he's about to lay into Willie Watts, and like an adult happens by, and he says like, "Hey, you're safe for now." So then we see we see the link at play here when he's getting physicalized, and the golem starts to wake up, starts to activate. So Willie realizes this. He realizes what's going on here, and he frees the golem. And Terry, nice bit here. Terry's asking if he's okay.
Okay, Dragon, I'm not even gonna lie. This is straight up my favorite moment in the whole episode. Yeah. Just this nice little gesture on Terry's part. I don't know, just something about it really stuck out to me. It's like a really good piece of characterization, just him going out of his way to stick up for the little guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Terry does that because at some point he was the little guy, and it kind of hardened him.
Totally.
That's always been my impression of it, because I think Terry, as we're going to learn about Terry was in juvie for a while, and I think he was the little guy in juvie.
I could see that, yeah. Okay, so Willie does what any good villain does, and he retreats into the sewers.
Yes.
And he's feeling the power. The power is surging through him.
So he's calling to his guardian here, and also you'll notice we're building a bit of a water theme for Act 3 at this juncture. We have we're in a sewer, and later on we're going to go to a pier.
Indeed.
So he senses it as he's in Joker territory. And I think I always read as he's making the reckless choice of this is going to be my sink or swim moment. If he doesn't show up, then I'm a goner anyway. So he's in Joker turf, and they're hounding him and they're harassing him, and they said they're asking for, you don't show up in Joker territory without a tribute, and he does offer a tribute in the form of a joke.
I gotta say, I really do like the designs on these Jokers.
Yeah, I think we recycled two of them, and I think this other guy. To be fair, I think here's the thing: the Jokers are in kind of waves, so they are in season 1. I think we recycle the same gang, but we do different. We don't bring back J-Man often, if at all, really. And then going forward, I think we infuse new Jokers designs, and that's kind of how it goes from that point onward. So yeah, so here we have like 3 of the Jokers there. And he says, "What's 2 stories tall in each Joker's?" And of course, the Golem shows up. Him, and he crushes one of their bikes, and they're freaking out, and they're running away. And yeah, things are gonna be different for me. Yeah. Okay. So, Tiki, it's your big moment here. You ready, buddy? Are you ready?
It's the Great Conroy moment.
No, not that. No.
Oh,
no,
sorry. Oh, right. Okay, my bad. Yes.
It's time to put on your dancing shoes, little sister.
Oh
We're at the dance at the pier.
Okay, so as far as my rave analysis goes, Dragon, honestly, my biggest nitpick with this is that it takes place outside. That kind of drives me crazy a little bit.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
So, this is kind of our proto-rave, believe it or not, because I think they were outside a club in the first. We didn't go inside the club.
Right. I remember that. It was like just a little taste. It's like we can't go in yet, but it's there.
And now, here's this episode right now is kind of the proto-rave in terms of how they light the inside of the raves. They usually kind of use it.
Sure.
This is them kind of experimenting with it, where right now they're not doing the multiple colors, they're just doing the one stationary green color this episode. So yeah, they're building to it, though.
I'm excited.
So you have your first Tiki, you have your first proto-rave. Okay. And also, I speculate the green color was a choice made to complement Willie's color with the Golem, which is green.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
Which also influenced our image, which is why Golem is written in green. Mm-hmm. So, they're at the dance, and Dana here, she's glad that Mr. Wayne gave Terry the night off, and I'm so glad you gave it the night off, otherwise I would have been here by myself. You're going to come alone? Hey, I have a life too. Seriously, I'm loving Dana. I'm loving Dana, man. She's great.
Is she really shining for you on a rewatch?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I really do like Lauren.
That's cool. Yeah.
Lauren Tom was always, obviously she's a very talented voice actress, but she does bring a lot of life into Dana. And I'm wondering how much we maintain Dana, because I forget there's like a peak and valley with her at some point, but we'll see. So, point being, Terry's having, again, unlike the other Batmen who do it, this kind of like keep up appearances. He actually likes this girl, and he's kind of hanging out with her, and some nice kind of natural romance happening there. So Blade, meanwhile, she's not having a good time at all. She's the unhappiest person.
Oh man.
She's the turd in the punch bowl, to quote Rob Paulson. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen this plot line done before. The whole, like pretty girl asks the nerd out on a date just to get back at the boyfriend. But Dragon, for my money, this might be one of the coldest time. Like she is just so cold to this poor sucker, man.
Yeah, it's like, you invited him.
It's just like from the get-go, it's just like, I mean, first of all, the whole your hand thing, valid, I guess. I don't know.
It was on her hip, though. Well, on her not on her hip. I think lower. I don't know, lower. Point being. But still, she probably put it. I don't know. I have a sense she okayed it to be there in the first place. I get a sense she was kind of decided against. Regardless,
exactly, right.
Regardless, it is the fact that this is not a pity date, which would be a thing where maybe she's getting tired. But no, this is a spite day, as in you invited him to spite somebody, as in you have no grounds to reject him. Okay, this is not a pity date. This is not
like in Napoleon Dynamite. There's a scene where Napoleon, his crush is basically forced to go to the dance with him, and she ditches him right away. But I mean, that's a situation where it's like, like you're saying, like she was literally forced into it by her mother in that situation. Where is this situation? It's just like she is just toying with him.
Yeah. So she's had a miserable time. She's wearing like a loud corsage. It's probably, I think the idea here is like the corsage is like an old timey thing that we don't do in the future anymore. So so he thought it would look nice, and they're all making fun of her. It's like, oh, she's wearing jungle camouflage. Look at her. So then Nelson's sticking up for her. And this is where the likability of Nelson kind of comes in here. He's sticking up for the girl. But he is still very much a bully here. He says, "Can't you see she's miserable enough as it is? Like, come on." And he apologizes and begs for a second chance. And he's, "Well, yeah, but I can't leave Willie here. He's already again. She's gonna treat him like crap. It's like she'll stick out with him. She'll dance with the one that brung you, essentially. But So anyway, so he says, "Hey, look, I'll talk to Willie. I'll let him down easy." Terrible idea.
Okay, and I gotta tell you, man, like when I first saw the ledge that this guy is leading Willie to, and I was legitimately thinking, like, is this guy gonna kill this guy?
No. Nelson's too much of a coward to kill anyone.
That's very true.
Well, he's Seth Green. Seth Green can't kill anyone.
I don't even think Seth Green is capable of injuring anyone.
Well, he could probably kick someone in the shin pretty hard.
All right. Anyway,
maybe, we saw him be intimidating once. You remember Scooby-Doo 2, where he did like he was tough talking to guy?
Not really.
Actually. Yeah, he did like he was scaring the crap out of Matthew Lillard in that scene. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Like, that whole Anyways, the point, so Nelson and his cronies take Willie out to the pier to talk, and he basically says, "You think a twip like you has any chance with her? Okay, you should just beat it now." And he says, "I'm trying to do this nice. I'm trying to be generous here. I don't need your generosity." "Yes, you do." And he tosses him off the pier, which is a big mistake.
I mean, you don't think that it's animated? Like it looks like a big fall. I don't know.
Well, you're right. It is. I mean, look,
the perspective is a little bit weird for me.
I don't think you're wrong. That it is a pier though, and piers are quite, depending on the tide. The piers are really tall though. I don't know. Maybe you might be. Regardless, there's water underneath him, and there's like a ladder, so he's not going to drown.
Sure.
Because even if he couldn't swim, he just like paddle to like the ladder. All right. So Willie here said the Golem is summoned with Willie's kind of like distressed state right now. He's traveling through the sewers and soon to be topside, and he is targeting one Nelson Nash.
Oh yeah,
he's gonna mash the Nash. Mash
He'll do the Nash. He'll do the monster Nash.
He'll mash the Nash.
Oh god,
it was a literal graveyard smash. Anyway. So
this is what I'm saying. Like, let me get my biggest nitpick in regards to the depiction of the raves. All right.
All right. What do you got?
The first time we see this dance, it's just the dance, and it's just like the dance floor and the green lighting and all that. But then when we cut back to it, it's much more obviously outside on the pier, and there's carnival games and everything. I don't like it feels very visually inconsistent. Does that make sense?
Haven't they done like proms and stuff on boats though?
Okay, yeah, but that's not my point. My point is that the first, basically before he pulls Willie out onto the pier, it just aesthetically looks different than it does when he comes back.
I mean, honestly, Tiki, now I can't say with authority, but my assumption was they had like little areas set up where they had like lights in there, but like a tarp or something. I think that's what it was. That's a guess. I could see that. Because later on, I think the idea is that either while you're on the dance floor, or if you just you stepped outside of that tarp, then you have like the pier, which has like the boardwalk games and everything. Which is where basically the rest of the fight and everything's at, which does not have like the green lights and everything. But then again, a lot of damage happens, so I don't know. Anywho, I mean, points to that though. I do like this whole idea. Doesn't it seem like just to take a break from the episode here? Doesn't it feel kind of like a fun idea to have like a dance or something around a pier? You can play games and stuff.
What it vaguely reminds me of is it vaguely reminds me of the to bring it back to Tron. Disney used to do this dance party that was Tron themed, and there would be like an arcade in the middle of it.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's called Electronica.
Oh, that's lame.
I like it. I like that name.
No, really? You like that?
Yeah, I like it.
I don't know. That's a bit much. Regardless, here's a parallel that this
Okay,
episode
well,
really-
you know what? They replaced it with the Mad Tea Party, except instead of the word tea, it's just the letter T.
right.
So with that in mind,
Okay, yeah, it's better.
Electronica's
Yeah.
not too bad, is it?
No, you're right. Yeah. I didn't know it got worse.
And there was like a punk rock band, you know, like a fucking punk rock Dormouse and March Hare. All right. Anyways,
So actually, something to mention here. This episode is given obviously the Spider-Man parallels you do have with Batman Beyond. This episode does remind me a lot of an awesome episode of Spectacular Spider-Man. The first Doc Ock episode in Spectacular Spider-Man, they have a fight on Coney Island amongst the games and everything, you know, on the pier. So, so point being, the Golem, we kind of cross-cut here in the editing, which is nice here. We're kind of cutting in between Willie and the Golems to show the links there, and the Golem's coming to his rescue there. So as the Golem heads to the dance and is crashing through the city, Terry and Dana have a little slow dance. It's getting intimate. And and their kiss is interrupted by Wet Willie.
Indeed.
I'm not calling him that, folks. That's what the episode calls him. You know, the kids are like saying, "Oh, more like Wet Willie."
It is a taunt that literally writes itself.
It does, and it feels like they've been building that with the pier thing.
Sure.
That had to be something they kind of like. Okay, we're gonna call him Willie Watts because it's alliterative, and what's our climax?
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
So again, our climax. So our climax here very much feels like a PG version of Carrie to me. I got to be honest.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, obviously we can't drop blood on them. You know, we're not Harley Quinn, so we can't drop blood on them. What we are gonna do is, we're gonna dunk him in the water.
This isn't an adult-centered TV show like Velma Dragon.
Oh, don't remind me. So
I'm sorry if you even brought that up.
Fact is, basically we have kind of a Carrie setup here. We have like the kid who's kind of taken to the dance under false pretenses, and he's doused in something, in this case water, and he kind of shows up as kind of the butt of the jokes at the dance. And also we have kind of the mental kind of telekinesis of sorts that's at play here, which is, also very Carrie-esque. So Dana, very nice. This is where Dana's really shining for me, man. Dana offers this. He's, oh, poor boy, someone should do something. She walks over, very proactive, that Dana. She offers to help him, like, let Terry drive you home.
Yeah.
So then I hear Tiki, the good Conroy.
Oh, okay. What's the good Conroy?
So as this is happening, old Bruce calls over the comm, and he says, "The Golem's heading your way. Hope you brought your suit."
That's it.
I told you it was Slim Pickens.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's a bad delivery, but like, I'm glad we didn't file it under the Great Conroy.
All I'm saying is just the whole like, hope you brought your suit is like, hey, he's kind of like, kind of a little chipper head, like, hey, hope you brought your suit. You're going to need it.
Right.
It's some light quippage from the old man. I don't know.
God.
So,
almost kind of like a George Lucas, like, here we go again.
All right. So, we have the creepy eye shot here, where we have like, I love how we're shooting like Willie's eyes and everything against the lighting, where they kind of put him in shadow, and the glasses are reflecting the light. You know, those kind of shots.
And
then we do like the close up of the eye, where the eye's like really up close, and then he has like the circuitry over the eye, and he's like, "Oh god, something bad's about to happen." Then he summons all the green power, and it's like, the Golem appears from underneath the pier and wreaks havoc. He doesn't need anyone. He's basically it's sicking this sucker on Nelson Nash, and they're all fleeing off of that pier. This is where the scale really is apparent, Tiki. They're all just jumping off that thing like it's a plane, man. Like it's that plane from The Boys.
Okay,
jumping off that thing.
This is what I'm talking about, though. This is like, for some reason, this is the biggest nitpick for me, and I don't even know why it bothers me so much. But
emphasis on the big with the scale, but yeah.
Like you would think there'd be at least a couple kids where falling from that height into choppy waves of water would be an issue.
Honestly, you think it's the weather? You think that's really what's really doing that for you? Like, do you think it's the
Possibly?
height?
That's possible. That's possible.
Like, think about this just for a moment. Do you think it's less so the hype and more so like if it were a sunny, bright day
Yeah,
and like
no, for sure. Because, it's like, keep in mind, I live on the California coast and I see choppy waves all the time. And every time I see choppy waves, it's like when you see it from a cliffside, you're like, man, I would not want to fall from this height and get caught in those waves. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah,
kind of a fact.
I think it's more just like a day-night setting to you. I think maybe that's it.
Fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
don't know. I could be wrong, but maybe it is the height. Who knows? So, yeah, so they're all fleeing from that thing, and then Nelson's about to be a goner there, and then he's oh god, Batman reluctantly saves Nelson. And I love
But I
this.
love how he just throws him into the water, though,
So this is like a more
haphazardly.
this is really funny. So the dynamic between Nelson Nash and Batman in this show is pretty much like a more hard-edged Spider-Man Batman thing, where the idea is that Spider-Man, obviously Peter Parker does have a soft spot for Flash Thompson, and Flash Thompson is a huge fan of Spider-Man, right?
Uh-huh.
Flip side of that, Terry McGinnis can't stand Nelson Nash. He doesn't like him at all. Batman doesn't like him at all. And Nelson Nash is like, yeah, this guy's cool. I'm on Batman's level. And then Batman just like chucks him in the water. He's like, thanks. Don't mention it. He's love he's too ticked off. Like, you started this mess, pal. Like, don't mention it. And he just drops him, relishing it a little bit. Then we have our climax here. So here's something big with the bat suit. First time we're seeing it on Terry's suit. The grappling line. He has grappling lines built into the suit.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure.
More Spider-Man comparisons. He can shoot a grappling line like a spider web. Well, it's going from the wrist, so like the black suit Spider-Man in this case. You should have stayed out of it, Batman. And he's tossing Batman into the candy. Little candy, kind of candy, not a hut, but a little candy stand, I guess. Enter Frank. So Frank, the father, shows up. He's found the Golem. So he's showing up for these shows. He's found the Golem. They show up to see what the heck's going on. He finds out his son. He puts two and two together, and then we have a money shot of the episode. You can probably tell by our visual image here, where again it's kind of the cycle of kind of like kind of perennial abuse here in a sense. Here it's like, hey, who's the bigger man now, Dad?
Exactly.
Like, who's the wuss now, Dad? Is literally what he says. Who's the wuss now? Yeah, so this is kind of a nice little sums it up right there. Like now the shoe's on the other foot, and I'm using the tools of your own trade against you. And the end, like, well, you said the man up. This is how I man up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use it against you, Papa. So, and again, then we have like so basically Batman's tasked with saving the boy's father here, and then we have like the really awesome kind of missed opportunity here, where it's like just Terry McGinnis Batman saying, he's your father. Not for long.
Yeah, for sure.
I just love what Friedel did in that delivery there, where he's like,
it's just a few words, but there's a lot of weight there. It really, and I guess that's the one element where it's like maybe there could have been just a little, like a beat somewhere along the way in the episode of Terry missing his dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's conveyed just in like you kind of read between the lines. The whole like I would even if as angry as I was at my father, I'd never want to kill him.
Right. Yeah,
you feel it. They don't say it. We don't really dedicate time to it. But I mean, it's still good. It feels like, man, we could have got a lot of mileage out of that here. We didn't.
So I feel it. So to be honest with you, I honestly kind of feel like, at least through the first 3 episodes after the death of the father has happened, I don't necessarily think enough weight has been put on that.
I think you're going to see that change a little bit.
Okay. Because I'm just saying, like, it would still, like, that's just a super traumatic thing, and it's still pretty recent.
I will tease you this, Tiki. One of the best moments in all of Batman Beyond is coming up soon that will draw a reference to that.
Okay, cool.
Not super soon, but soon. Okay, it's gonna happen. It's in the first season. Like the best moment debatably one of the best moments in all of Batman Beyond happens in the first season. Mm-hmm. So Batman awesomely he tosses this like kind of this acid capsule from the belt into the eye of this thing, which is just freaking awesome. So meanwhile, then of course Frank, he's like,
I really like the animation of how it affects him too.
Yeah,
you know how it gets into Willie's eye.
Yeah, but now we have this thing where Frankie's like running. Yeah, this makes sense for construction work. He can run on those steel beams. He's running on the
Yep,
steel
yep.
beams, but then he's like dangling for his life. And then this is a
But
great
much like
gag.
Andy Serkis Dragon, he can't swim.
Now, here's what's wonderful about this. This is not only just for the Batman's line, like terrific. Where it's not just that, but it's just the irony that this father has been like on his son's case about weakness and everything. You
Right? No,
can't
totally,
swim,
totally. I definitely picked up on that. Yeah.
but you're riding him and you can't swim. God. So
It's like there's people that have gone on Survivor who didn't learn how to swim, and those people rightfully get righted about it too. It's like, come on, man, what are you expecting? All right. Anyways,
so then we learned that the Golem has flamethrowers built into it, which is really cool and definitely turns up the heat. So Batman, he saves this guy at the last second and he pushes him into. I hope you caught this, dude. He throws him into the stand of plush dolls. Did those plush dolls remind you of anything?
I didn't catch it. No.
MODOK.
Okay, let me see. Oh yeah, I see it now. I see it now. Yeah.
So again, it's a little Kirby love there, but more so it's kind of. I like to think the meta gag is it's like how you have like on the pier and all like boardwalks. Sometimes you have like discounted like unofficial like unlicensed merchandise of popular brands. So it's like, hey, this is like the actual MODOK, but like like 2 steps removed from MODOK. That's how we can get away with it. This is like the knockoff.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is more knockoff than MODOK. All right. So so here's the destruction of the golem itself. I do want your take on here. So Terry he fires some grappling hooks right into the heart of this thing, and then ties it to like essentially like this rocket kind of attraction. It works like the Dumbo attraction at Disney, and it reels him in and basically smashes the heck out of this thing. I mean, do you buy it, or do you think it's like if explosives from the explosive batarangs didn't put a dent on this thing, this is what takes it out? And what do you think?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So, point being, thing gets destroyed. Luckily, and Willie is weeping over his friend, and basically, I think more so his power than his friend. That's the thing. There wasn't. I don't know how much of a sentience there really was here. I think it was just literally him, but with a puppet. And I think he's just weeping over the power and ease that he thought he had. And then we have this really chilling moment between Batman and Frank here, where he says, "You should probably go talk to him. You probably won't be seeing him for a while." And again, this is the parallels to Warren McGinnis, where Terry went away to juvie, and he probably didn't have like an exchange like this with his father.
Right. Yeah.
And Frank's response here is, "Yeah, you're right. I probably should, but hey, he ain't no wuss anymore."
Oh God.
Just oh God, that guy's sick. Yeah. I think we had did you catch a bad exit after that scene, or was Terry still there?
I'd have to go back and look. I'm sorry. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Anyway, so we then cut to the ending, the end coda here, where Willie is in juvie. Essentially, this is, I believe, the inside of juvie, or at least like the detaining area of juvie, before you go back and like I don't know if they have cells or not, like kind of housing in juvenile hall or not. But point being,
I think it would probably like in real life. It depends on the facility.
Exactly, because in Batman Beyond, I think we have juvie as almost like kind of like a low grade prison of sorts, and this is kind of like the common.
I'm pretty sure the more modern prisons kind of try to do it more dorm style.
Yeah, that's what I think you're right about that. So at the very least here, at least circa the 90s, perhaps, what have you, this is kind of like a more artsy kind of take on a detention center where Willie got 3 years. We exposited this on the TV with the AI newsman. And basically some punks there are telling him like, hey, Twip, change the channel. I want to watch wrestling. And Willie's power, he's still got his powers. He's still got some telekinesis going on there. And he's like, he has some ability over technology and stuff. And he's making the screen flicker. And we're showing some creepy lighting on him. He's still got powers. Ooh.
I do really like the lighting on the glasses. Kind of the silhouette with the circles of white. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's about it.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know, Dragon. I really did enjoy this quite a bit. I actually kind of wish there were more standalone episodes like this because I gotta say I mean I understand needing to have the point of view be from Terry. I do get that, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I thought this was an interesting little little story experiment that, from my point of view, paid off. I thought it gave us a little bit more of Terry's empathetic side. It also gave us some decent world building. So, yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid episode.
I'm glad you took that away from it. I mean, for me, it's not a bad episode or anything, but again, not like my go-to, like, this is why you gotta watch Batman Beyond.
No, I wouldn't say it's that either. Yeah, but...
Yeah. But again, I think
every episode has to be that.
that's true, but I do think there still is a takeaway here where this is the gut check of like, yeah, this isn't your father's Batman. This is not, we're not playing by the same rules here. And I think this episode was the wake-up call. Like, okay, we definitely got to be our own show here. And maybe we're going to have episodes like this in our own show. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're going to readjust things a bit. So, this episode's the learning curve episode for sure. But that's not a bad thing, is we're learning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Dragon, hype us up. What's coming up next?
Well, first we should thank Atomic Beast for dropping.
Oh, right, yeah, of course. Thank you, Atomic Beast. And thank you once again for correcting me on that bandit thing. I'm so glad. I'm seriously glad he called it out, or else I would have been wondering, like, where the hell did I get bandit from? All right.
Recue me.
Cue it up, Dragon. What's coming up?
A familiar frozen face. A rogue redemption. One Batman with hope, the other doubts. Can Victor Freeze make a comeback decades later? Has Derek Powers found the solution to his problem? Tune in next time to find out. Same animated bat time, same animated bat place.
On the next visit to Batcave Beyond with Meltdown. Well, at least you're not a wimp.
Not a wuss.